friends and family, faculty and staff, distinguished guests, my fellow classmates, welcome to Harvard Law School's 2019 Class Day ceremony. My name is Rez Gadi, and on behalf of my fellow class marshals, I'm honored to welcome you all here today. During my time here, and now looking out at the class of 2019, I know that Harvard Law School has been the perfect place for people as ambitious as us, with a vision to make a huge difference in the world. Harvard Law School has inspired and prepared us to make a difference in the world by equipping us with the skills we need to advocate for our communities, to pursue powerful ideas, and advance our capacity to lead. It has empowered us to make a positive change where our skills and passion are the most valuable. And now it's up to us to decide what we do with everything we've learnt here and how we will use the power of law. For many of us, being here at Harvard Law School was unimaginable, but we're here because we dreamed big. And now we must dream even bigger as we embark on our next journeys. And we must remember the reason we wanted to come to law school in the first place. Congratulations, class of 2019. It is now my great pleasure to introduce the Dean of Harvard Law School, John F. Manning. Dean Manning, the Morgan and Helen Chu Dean and Professor of Law, has been a member of the faculty since 2004. Prior to entering teaching, Dean Manning served as an assistant to the Solicitor General in the U.S. Department of Justice, as an associate in the D.C. office of Gibson, Dunn and Crutcher, and an attorney advisor in the Office of Legal Counsel in the U.S. Department of Justice. He also served as a law clerk to the Honorable Scalia of the Supreme Court of the United States and to the Honorable Robert H. Burke of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit. Dean Manning is a graduate of both the Harvard College and Harvard Law School. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dean John Manning.
Thank you, Rez, and thanks to all of the class marshals for your leadership and all the work you've done in bringing together this great day. Welcome, everybody. It's an honor to be here today to celebrate Harvard Law School's class of 2019 and to recognize some extraordinary honorees. Now, I'm pleased to be joined on our stage by our class marshals, our president of the Harvard Law School Association, Dan Eaton, from the class of 1989, the Suzanne L. Richardson Staff Appreciation Award winner, Nancy Pinn, the Sacks-Freund Award for Teaching Excellence winner, Professor Richard Lazarus, from the class of 1979, Marcia Sells, our Dean of Students. I'm also delighted to welcome our Class Day speaker, Roberta Kaplan. I look forward to hearing from each of them, and I know you do too. Today's student, staff, and faculty honorees share a deep commitment to excellence and to making a difference in the lives of others. They're the embodiment of the Harvard Law School mission and the larger ideals that it serves. You'll hear more about all of them shortly as we recognize each honoree. But before I turn the proceedings over to your class marshal, Ruda Mrazutskaita, I want to take a moment to recognize you, the class of 2019. What an exceptional group you are. Let's give the class of 2019 a big round of applause. You should be very proud of all that you've accomplished. I know we are. You've written countless papers, notes, blog posts, briefs, reports. You've respectfully discussed and debated the hardest questions of the day. You've argued cases, you've represented clients, you've developed policy. You've traveled across the entire world to work and learn and contribute. And your commitment, your creativity, and your thoughtful pursuits have made this law school a better place. But your contributions go well beyond HLS. You've given of yourselves through exceptional service to those in need of representation. As many of you know, and soon all of you will know, at Harvard Law School we require our JDs to perform 50 hours of pro bono work. Now this is what the JD class of 2019 performed. An average of, are you ready? 651 hours of pro bono work. Sixteen of our graduates performed more than 2,000 hours, and another 118 performed more than 1,000 hours each. In total, right? Yes, worth it. In total, this amazing JD class contributed, are you ready? 390,095 hours of pro bono work. That is a record. That's a record. And if you add the contributions of our LLM class, that number is even higher. So please give yourselves and one another a very big hand. Now, I'll have more words to say tomorrow when we reconvene. For now, let me just say how very proud we are of you and how much we look forward to celebrating you over the next few days. And without further delay, let me turn the proceedings over to Ruta. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Ruta, and it is with extreme joy that I join everyone today in welcoming our class to a very impressive community. By this time tomorrow, we will all be Harvard Law School alumni. We will be sharing this privilege with many great leaders who have already inspired many of us professionally and personally. This privilege also comes with a great responsibility to serve our communities and our profession well. And the president of the Harvard Law School Alumni Association, Mr. Daniel Eaton, is here today to welcome us to this new page of our lives. Mr. Eaton received his Bachelor of Science degree from Georgetown University in 1984 and received his Harvard School degree cum laude in 1989. Upon graduating from law school, Mr. Eaton went to San Diego to practice law. He's a partner in the litigation department of the San Diego law firm of Seltzer, Kaplan, McMahon, Wittek, and teaches at the San Diego State University College of Business Administration. He's also the former chair and a current member of the San Diego County Bar Association Legal Ethics Committee and has served on numerous government and nonprofit boards. Please welcome Mr. Eaton.
Thank you very much, Ruta. The Harvard Law School Association, of which I am pleased to be president, is your alumni association. And about this time tomorrow, you are all going to become members of that association for the rest of your lives. So let me be the first to welcome you in advance and honor you as Harvard Law School alumni. Just let that sink in for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Now, your classmate May put it absolutely perfectly in a recent interview when he said that Harvard Law School is a magical place that too few people appreciate. So let me be clear right now that I am completely with May and that I absolutely loved my 3 years at Harvard Law School. From the constructive brutality of the first year with, among others, Professors Martha Minow and Todd Rakoff, who, bless their heart, are still teaching 30 years later, to the deep satisfaction and frankly relief of completing my third-year paper, and I feel deep pride in this institution. My feelings about the school, ladies and gentlemen, were captured in a statement that I made that was published in the yearbook in 1989, and I'd just like to read you those words. It has taken me almost 3 years to realize that the greatness that I assumed was mine simply by entering HLS was backwards. Harvard's reputation as a truly good and decent place to study law owes less to the few great men and women who have distinguished themselves in positions of public importance, though there is justifiable institutional pride in these people, than to the many ordinary graduates who have served their gods and faith conscientiously, loved their family and friends dutifully, and contributed to their professions and community generously. Harvard Law School's enduring preoccupation, in short, as a truly good and great place to study law, lies in its commitment to developing ordinary professionals dedicated not just to the finest practice of law, but to the greatest measure of justice. Now, I feel those words more strongly now than I did 30 years ago, almost to the day when I was sitting right where you are. Of course, we didn't have class day when I graduated, but let's leave that aside. That is in part, the reason I feel those words so strongly is because of my involvement in the Harvard Law School Association, which has allowed me to see HLS and her progeny evolve and thrive. And the Harvard Law School Association is how you will be able to be involved going forward when you leave these gates. Now today, ladies and gentlemen, the focus is on you and the opportunities and choices that lay ahead of you. And you are young, your future bright, the world an open door, the galaxy within your grasp, the sky for you a floor. Believe it, ladies and gentlemen, of the class of 2019, the best is yet to come. Thank you.
Good afternoon, class of 2019, congratulations. I'm Elizabeth Mavis, and I have the honor of presenting the Suzanne Richardson Staff Award for contributions to the student experience. This award is given each year to a member of the staff who demonstrates commitment and concern for students' life and work here at the law school. It is with great pleasure that I announce that the class of 2019 has selected Nancy Penn, Director of Admissions and Student Affairs in the graduate program, as the winner of this award. Nancy has been with the graduate program since 2001, and countless people have spoken of her care and dedication to the students. She is always available to help navigate the Harvard bureaucracy, guiding students what can at times be a frustrating and lonely experience. But anyone who's worked with Nancy knows that her dedication and care does not stop when a problem becomes personal rather than academic. She works tirelessly to ensure that students feel supported and that they have a community here at the law school. One student said, "I only wish that there could be more Nancys in Harvard and in life." Thank you for everything that you've done for us and for the HLS community, for your exceptional professionalism and genuine care. Congratulations.
Class of 2019, congratulations. Thank you for this unexpected recognition. Unexpected when you are the ones who have worked so hard and accomplished so much. As part of the graduate program, it is my special privilege to work with Harvard's LLM and SJD candidates. These talented students have already studied law. Nearly all are international and bring varied backgrounds: judge, activist, corporate practitioner, budding academic. Most have made significant personal sacrifices to come here from overseas. like their many international JD classmates, notwithstanding what may seem like a gradual erosion of the national welcome mat. LLM and SJDs provide a level of experience and texture to this community, enriching us and offering a fresh spin on matters we may otherwise take for granted, like the origins of the hearsay rule, principles of informed consent, and even why the American diet is so carb-heavy. My own job entails making sure that you, the students, find what you need to thrive and to succeed. My most gratifying moments are when you come talk to me about your hopes, your plans, even your dilemmas. In our discussions, we ponder courses, housing, balancing of responsibilities, and such lofty topics as when it will start snowing, or in some years, when it might stop snowing. I am honored that you trust me to help you navigate your decision-making, academic and otherwise. That mid-year epiphany that changed your writing project, that course you swore you would never take, but which has transformed your objectives, that ill-advised decision to wear a New York Yankees cap in public. Every interaction teaches me something, and I am lucky that you have let me share in a part of your experience. Today, I think of my father, who would have reveled in this afternoon. During his life, he was a constant source of love and guidance, and has remained my role model for listening to and providing support to others. His model had a flaw, though, in excessive parental pride. For example, years ago, when a Harvard president stepped down, my father suggested that I apply for the job. I told him that this was the most unrealistic idea I could imagine, and he grew frustrated at what he termed my lack of confidence. Even if I had been remotely qualified, that more impressive job would not have offered me the engagement and fulfillment that my current role does. As such, it is particularly meaningful to receive an award in the name of Suzanne Richardson. Suzanne was an early mentor to me and left a strong legacy of fair-minded advocacy and community engagement. I have seen these qualities among the members of the class of 2019. The way you take care of each other, participating in one another's triumphs and sorrows. I am confident that you will remain connected and attentive as you make this world a better place. In closing, I recognize my enormously talented colleagues throughout the law school, my amazing graduate program coworkers, and my actual family members who have joined me here today, my daughter Maggie, Steve, Roseanne, and Jonathan. Finally, to the remarkable class of 2019, SJDs, LLMs, JDs. Thank you so much, congratulations, and please keep me posted on your next adventures.
Good afternoon. My name is Liz Philman, and it is my honor to present the 2019 Albert M. Sachs Paul A. Freund Award for Teaching Excellence to Professor Richard Lazarus. Each year, this award is presented to one professor for teaching ability, attentiveness to student concerns, and general contributions to student life at HLS. Professor Lazarus graduated with degrees in chemistry and economics from the University of Illinois and went on to earn his JD from Harvard Law School, graduating with a class of 1979. In addition to teaching at Harvard Law School, Professor Lazarus has authored 2 books and has represented clients in 40 cases before the United States Supreme Court. Those who have had Professor Lazarus in class, as well as those who have not, know how much he cares about this school and its students. Professor Lazarus has helped many students in the class of 2019 in their academic and professional endeavors, providing career advice, research opportunities, and clerkship recommendations. In addition, he has gone out of his way to support students outside of the classroom. Professor Lazarus can always be spotted sitting in the front row of Parity each year. And as he planned the bicentennial celebration last year, he ensured that the myriad talents and interests of students and alumni were represented, highlighting the community that makes HLS such an incredible place. Harvard Law School is so fortunate to have Professor Lazarus, and he has been integral in shaping the last 3 years for many of us in the class of 2019 who had the opportunity to know and learn from him. As one student wrote in their nomination of Professor Lazarus for this award, his love for this school is infectious. Professor Lazarus, on behalf of the class of 2019, thank you for everything that you have done for your students, for Section 5, and for the HLS community. Congratulations.
Thank you, Liz, and the class of 2019 for this wonderful award. The Sacks-Freund Teaching Award was established actually in 1992 at the instigation of the class marshals of that year. As they described it to me recently, it had been a tumultuous and difficult year here at Harvard Law School, and they sought by creating this award to, quote, sprinkle a little love, unquote. For me, there is no better, no more meaningful award. My father was a teacher, a professor of physics at the University of Illinois in Urbana, Illinois, where I was born and raised, and where I went to college, as Liz said. He was a celebrated teacher of introductory physics. His teaching evaluations would routinely say, Professor Lazarus raises physics from the dead. I did not know any lawyers growing up. I knew only teachers. In my world, that was the coin of professional success, being an excellent teacher. There was no higher honor to be achieved. My father met my mother when they were both undergraduates at the University of Chicago. My mother was no less a role model. She was not a formal professor like my father, but she was a fabulous mentor to young people. She loved helping to launch young people's careers, something I have tried to take to heart in my own life. I cannot help but think of both of them today where I now stand. They married in Chicago in August of 1943. They took the train to Boston, and they had their honeymoon at the Sheraton Commander across the Cambridge Commons. Their first home was on Everett Street, across from Shaw Hall, where they lived in Terry Terrace apartments, where many law students live today. My father worked right there, across Holmes Field, for the U.S. military during the war, doing research on radar jamming in preparation for the D-Day invasion. They would have loved this award, and so do I. I do many things, but nothing is more important to me than my teaching. It's the most fun, exciting, challenging, and rewarding thing I do, and nowhere has it been more fun, exciting, and challenging than Harvard Law School. As Liz mentioned, I've not taught at Harvard Law School my entire academic career. In my 20s, I taught at Indiana University in Bloomington. In my 30s, I taught at Washington University in St. Louis. And in my 40s and early 50s, I taught in Georgetown at DC. And then in spring 2010, I received a most extraordinary phone call from then Harvard Law School Dean Martha Minow, inviting me to join the Harvard Law School faculty. It was wonderful, it was exciting, it was gratifying to get that call, but it was far from clear that I would accept the offer. At the time, I was a very happy member of the Georgetown faculty, and as my family will tell you, I'm always wary of trying to make happy people happier. But here's what closed the deal for me. This is true, you. It was the opportunity to teach Harvard Law School students. It's such an extraordinary privilege. I've taught at many places. I've had many spectacular students at many places I've taught. But teaching here is profoundly different. It's not necessarily with any one student. It is more what happens when you're all brought together in the same place. So much talent, so much hard work, so much constructive ambition, and so much engagement combined. I'll be teaching something here I've taught for years before. And I look out and I'll see a head in the classroom kind of turn like this, quizzically, thinking, really? You're saying that? I call on them and it begins. Unanticipated conversation. What I've learned here at Harvard is the importance of faculty saying less and letting students say more. The student body is the best part of Harvard Law School. Yes, the law school boasts of fabulous teachers, classes, clinics, and institutes, but it's all secondary to the main event, classmates and the friendships forged here. It's the best part when I was a student here 40 years ago, and it's no different today. Year after year, it is the most surprising and wondrous thing about Harvard Law School. Far more than a great law school, which it is, it's where extraordinary friendships are forged. And when you leave here, you will not leave those friendships behind. My own from Harvard Law School have been the most enduring of my life, beginning here at Harvard Law School and persisting now for 4 decades. My classmates and I have celebrated together the most joyous moments of our lives. We have laughed together, we have loved together. We've enjoyed marriages and births. We have also cried together and mourned together, enduring life's inevitable challenges. They are friendships born from affection, love, and loyalty. We've never allowed our differences to preclude our friendships. Differences in backgrounds, differences in outlooks, differences in politics. We've always found strength in our differences and strived to learn from each other, not just to persuade, but sometimes to be persuaded. And that is why Harvard Law School's student body today is even better than in my day. It is fabulously, it is gloriously diverse along so many dimensions. I also have to give a special shout out to Section 5. You were incredible from day one. The most engaged students I've ever had in a classroom. The most loving, supportive, modest, and cohesive a community outside the classroom. I could not be more pleased and proud and grateful to have been your teacher, and I will miss your company tremendously. And that is a secret that few students appreciate. Law faculty may appear a curmudgeonly lot, but our joy in your graduation is invariably mixed with a tinge of sadness as we see you go. I'd like to close with a very brief charge. Do not measure your life by your Harvard Law School degree, but by what you do with it. This is not a time to rest on your laurels. It's not a time for passive acquiescence, but a time for active engagement. The challenges our nation faces right now, indeed the entire world, are enormous, far greater than when you began law school in August 2016. Much has happened since then. Long-standing accepted norms of governance have too often been abandoned, with potentially calamitous consequences, in ways and degree I would never have thought possible in 2016. So long as you are actively engaged in addressing those challenges, we can all be optimistic about our future. It requires your becoming leaders and in supporting leaders who possess integrity and sound character, and who seek to address injustice, and not simply to make deals to accumulate power and profits, whatever their party affiliation. That is the good news. But here is a sobering reminder. If you instead become passive, if you instead become disenchanted and so alienated, you become disengaged, and you still your own voices, or refuse to listen to voices other than those with whom you already agree, remain in an echo chamber, the cost will be enormous, as recent events have made clear. Enjoy the day. Celebrate with loved ones tomorrow. Take the weekend off. But next Monday, focus on what you can do to put our nation and our world back on track. We need you. And be sure, just like the class in 1992, to sprinkle a little love too along the way. Thank you.
My name is Marcia Sells, and I'm the Dean of Students here at this wonderful place, Harvard Law School. Welcome. As the Dean has said, we are also proud of the class of 2019. Your loved ones would also say this, and I second it. You should say to your loved ones, thank you for their support throughout the journey of law school and what got you here today. We at Harvard Law School are changed for the good because you have come here. We will remember you all fondly. And now for the awards. The Andrew L. Kaufman Pro Bono Service Award. The Andrew L. Kaufman Pro Bono Service Award is granted each year in honor of Professor Andrew Kaufman, who has been instrumental in creating and supporting the pro bono service program at HLS. The award is given to a JD student in the graduating class who exemplifies the pro bono public spirit and extraordinary commitment in improving and delivering high-quality volunteer legal services to disadvantaged communities. Selection is based on the service to law-related public service projects or organizations, the quality of work performed, and the impact of the work on the community. The 2019 Kaufman Award winner, please stand, Richard Bargacho. Richard, you have integrated criminal defense, immigration, and housing law into almost 2,000, you can stay standing. Enjoy this. You have integrated all of this in 2,000 hours of community lawyering, pro bono service while at HLS. You have been a devoted canvasser with Project No One Leaves, knocking on the doors of people facing displacement. As co-president, you integrated immigration and information into the canvases. You also had a very active caseload volunteering with Harvard Defenders, representing low-income individuals at criminal show cause hearings before clerk magistrates, and recently an appeal in district court. You've been an extraordinary advocate with the Harvard Legal Aid Bureau, where you have saved families' homes from foreclosure and secured benefits for a family with a severely disabled child. Your nominators stated, he is committed to his core to using the law to make our society more just. Richard, you deserve this honor, Kaufman Award, and we are thankful for your tireless work. Thank you, Richard. The next award is the William J. Stuntz Award. William Stuntz, a renowned scholar of criminal justice who died after a long battle of cancer, Bill's influential scholarship over the past 3 decades addressed the full spectrum of issues related to criminal justice. He was a recipient, like Professor Lazarus, of the Sacks-Freund Teaching Award in 2004. In his honor, the law school established the William J. Stuntz Award to recognize the graduating student who is, in his or her time at Harvard Law School, has demonstrated an exemplary commitment to justice, respect for human dignity, and compassion. We are also delighted that Mr. Stuntz, Professor Stuntz's widow, Ruth Stuntz-Smith, is also with us here today. I'd like to recognize her and thank you for coming as you have each year. And this year's 2019 William J. Stuntz Award winner is Denise A. Garrity. Denise, even before coming to law school, you fought for housing and economic justice in the greater Boston area, working for several local community organizations, including Tri-County Community Action Program, Home Start, and Housing Families. While at Harvard Law School, you continued to live those values. You have been an active and dedicated member of numerous student organizations and clinics, including Harvard Legal Aid Bureau, Harvard Defenders, and the Black Law Students Association. You have represented countless clients uncovering legal issues in housing, family wage and hours, foreclosure benefits, and special immigrant juvenile status cases. As president of the Harvard Legal Aid Bureau, you built an inclusive community and kept the nation's oldest student-run legal services clinic and the second largest provider of legal aid in Greater Boston running on a day-to-day basis. One of your nominators said, "Denise is a powerful person who improves any space she is in with integrity, commitment, compassion, and joy. She relentlessly creates space for voices and experiences that are often silenced." For these reasons, we are delighted to honor you with the 2019 William J. Stuntz Award. Next, the David Westfall Memorial Award. Our next award honors the late Professor David Westfall, who taught at the law school for more than 50 years. He enthusiastically volunteered to lead, as he was heading towards retirement, a new 1L section in 2002, and enjoyed terrific popularity in the role. Nominations for the Westfall Award are submitted by faculty, staff, and students. It is fitting we honor his memory by recognizing a student who has made significant contributions to their class over the last 3 years. This year's David Westfall Memorial Award goes to Laura Lee Berry. Laura Lee, your classmates as a whole seem very indebted to you. Section 7 clearly sees you as their community leader. One of your nominators said, "Laura Lee has done an extraordinary job of cultivating and maintaining the Section 7 community over her 3 years at HLS." Throughout your 3 years, you have organized several events for your section, including the traditional Rakoff Bake-Off, bocce nights, karaoke, and the annual Section 7 extravaganza. As a 2L and 3L, you shared your story with the 1Ls at orientation as part of the Section 7 talks, and you advised and tutored first-year students in your section. One of your peers said, "Laura Lee's energy, sense of humor, empathy, and generosity have contributed hugely to the section experience. Both for her classmates and the Section 7 students have followed her. She has built bridges between students across the 3 years and finds ways, big and small, to check in on her classmates, connect them to resources, and lift them up when they are struggling. Laura Lee, for these reasons, we are delighted to present you with this year's Westfall Community Leadership Award. Next is the Frank Rickheimer Jr. Prize. This prize is awarded annually to a graduating student in recognition of exceptional citizenship within the law school community. Faculty, staff, and students submitted nominations for the Rickheimer Prize, and I am pleased to announce that this year's recipient is Janine Xie. Janine, your nominators collectively highlighted your citizenship in the classroom, the courtroom, and the community. Through your involvement in the Prison Legal Assistance Project, Harvard Defenders, Harvard Legal Aid Bureau, Queer Trans People of Color, and Lambda, you have demonstrated your dedication to making HLS and the world a better place for all. One of your nominators said, "Janine is a living example of how students can successfully translate the skills they learn at law school to improve their community and the broader legal system." Additionally, many of your peers mentioned your strength as a leader. One nominator said, "Janine encourages others to keep and step up and push harder for the values they care about. She does this with nuance and compassion, all while being an incredibly supportive colleague and friend. In addition, many students emphasize the lasting impact you have had on the community through your help in creating Queer Trans People of Color, a student organization designed to give queer students of color a space to talk, reflect, and advocate based on shared experiences, as well as your role as the Executive Director of Defenders, where you spearheaded open office hours to hear and address the needs of every member. As one student said, Janine has enriched the lives of so many people, and she has embodied true citizenship through countless hours of work she has done both within and outside HLS. For all of these reasons, we are honored to present you with the Rickheimer Prize. And now for the last set of awards. This is the Dean's Awards for Community Leadership. Next, each student receiving this award has enriched our community in a myriad of ways through academic excellence, public service, and creative vision. Nominations for the Dean's Awards were also submitted by faculty, staff, and students. We have 30 of them, so I ask that each student, when I read your name, will stand. I also ask that each of you in the audience will also read the amazing programs and projects that each of them have been a part of. Our first Dean's Award community leader is Lindsay Ann Bailey. Richard S. Barbico. Annika Boone. Billy M. Conway. Lilani Doctor. Jessica N. Eisen. Elizabeth Ferry. Isabel Finley. Rez Dardy. Anna M.G. Andrew Leon Hanna. Kendall J. Howell. Daniel Levine Spound. Joseph K. Longley. Joshua Matthew. Julius Mitchell. Ruta Maskartik. Narissa Naidu. Ezra Newman. Meme Onodwe. Gonzalo Gabriel Robles Rodriguez. Harman Singh. Zachary Sosa. Heba Thobani. Nora Picasso Yavali. Alexis Wansnack. Drew Wegner. Catherine Wiener. And Lauren Williams. These are your 2019 Dean's Award winners. Thank you. I am happy now. That was actually the next line of my speech, but thank you. Yes, you're all very happy. I am now very happy to turn the mic over to Zachary Fish.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all enjoying this Boston summer day. Today I have the great honor of introducing our Class Day speaker, Roberta Kaplan. Robbie obtained her JD from Columbia Law School in 1991, but she also graduated from Harvard College, so we can still claim her. Since then, she has gone on to be one of the most influential lawyers of her generation. In 2013, Robbie argued the case of her career so far, Windsor v. United States. Now, for those who don't know, Windsor challenged the misleadingly titled Defense of Marriage Act, which it was a 1996 bipartisan act of Congress that prohibited the federal recognition of same-sex marriages, even ones that had been recognized at the state level. Robbie's client, Edith Windsor, had been with her spouse, Thea, for 44 years. Edith cared for Thea as she had been incapacitated by multiple sclerosis. But the federal government would not recognize their marriage, so when Thea passed away, Edith was hit with a 6-figure estate tax bill, a tax to which only gay married couples, not straight married couples, were subjected. Robbie took her case all the way to the Supreme Court and won. The impact was enormous. Our own Professor Lawrence Tribe said of Windsor, quote, "I can't think of any Supreme Court decision in history that has ever created so rapid and broad a lower court groundswell." Indeed, Windsor laid the groundwork for Obergefell v. Hodges, which legalized same-sex marriage nationwide just 2 years later. Robbie knew how much this victory meant to young queer people across the country, because she'd been there herself. In her book, Robbie describes the despair she felt when coming to grips with her sexuality. Quote, "For a newly out gay person in 1991, there was little reason to expect that a normal life was possible. The consequences seemed clear. Being gay meant losing the love and support of your family. It meant never being able to get married or start a family of your own. It meant living a covert life on the fringes of society, a life where none of the promises of a happy, secure adulthood applied." Now, for many people that remains true, but in my short lifetime, tremendous progress has been made, and that is thanks in no small part to Robbie Kaplan. But Robbie did not rest on her laurels after winning Windsor. She knew that the fight for civil rights and equal protection under the law was not over, that it's never over. So she doubled down. She left her partnership at a big law firm to start her own firm, Kaplan Hecker Fink. There, she has sued the Nazis who organized the right-wing riots in Charlottesville, Virginia. Successfully defended the LGBTQ Pride Parade in Starkville, Missouri, after the town government denied their permit. And is now helping challenge the Department of Commerce's discriminatory census citizenship question. She also co-founded the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund in 2018 to provide resources and support to women who have been sexually harassed at work, especially women who would otherwise face socioeconomic barriers to litigation. Through Time's Up, she has helped more than 4,000 survivors of workplace sexual harassment. Robbie is a trailblazer, so it's no surprise that her presence here marks a couple of major firsts. As Dean Minnow told us nearly 3 years ago at Convocation, Robbie is addressing the first majority woman class in HLS history. Robbie is also the first out gay person to ever speak at Harvard Law School's class day. Given her tireless advocacy on behalf of women and queer people, we can think of no one better to mark this occasion. Now, there's one more thing I want to mention about DOMA, the discriminatory law that Robbie helped strike down. There were 16 Harvard Law School alums in the Congress that passed DOMA. 14 of those 16 alums voted in favor. That's right, 14 of the 16 HLS alums in Congress used their power to deny same-sex couples their right to equal protection under the law. We, the class of 2019, can do better. And Robbie is living proof. She shows us that we can and should use our law degrees to meaningfully improve people's lives. That's why we're thrilled to have her. So please welcome Robbie Kaplan.
The great Hasidic rabbi, Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav, lived in what was then the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth from 1772 to 1810. As you can tell from those dates, he lived a very short life, and one filled with great sorrow. He had 6 children, 4 of whom died as infants, and he suffered what today would probably be diagnosed as clinical depression. Yet during his 38 years on this earth, he offered lessons on living a meaningful life, especially the duty to find joy, that I find to be especially helpful in these times. While it's customary at law school to quote famous lawyers or judges, wisdom can be found in many places. So today I would like to rely on Rabbi Nachman as a guide to the message I'd like to offer to you here today. Let me begin with one of his stories. Once upon a time, a king told the prime minister, "As an astrologer, I see that whoever eats any of the wheat that grows this year will go mad. Let us think of a solution." The prime minister answered, "Let us have some of last year's wheat set aside for us, so that we will not have to eat the tainted grain." The king replied, "But if we do that, we alone will be sane in an insane world. Then it will be as though we're the ones who are insane and the others are sane. Isn't it possible," the king added, "to set wheat aside for everyone? It's not possible to set aside wheat for everyone either, so we will have to eat the tainted wheat. But we shall make a mark on our foreheads, so that when we look at each other's foreheads, we will know that we are both insane." That story is one that I have been thinking about a lot of late, since I think it says something essential about the human condition. As soon-to-be graduates of Harvard Law School, let me assure you, like the king and his prime minister, we are all mad here. Me, you, your professors, the deans, the judges, we are all mad. We all have an invisible L word, no, not lesbians or lobbyists, but lawyers, inscribed on our foreheads. And that invisible L affects both our outlook and it twists our sense of humor. It allows us to see how the Constitution, how statutes, how the common law and regulations shape the lives of every American. Yes, we're insane, but at least we know it. Today, after 3 years of hard work, you're one of us. You can speak the secret language that lawyers use. So what are you supposed to do about that now? It would take an astonishing amount of chutzpah for me to tell you how to plot out the rest of your life. We all walk our own paths. There is only one thing that I know for sure, and that is that nobody really knows what life has in store for them. My late client, Edie Windsor, sure didn't. As a closeted young woman growing up in Philadelphia after World War II, she had no idea what the future held. She didn't know that she'd meet another woman by the name of Thea Spire and fall in love. She didn't know that Thea, as Zach mentioned, would ultimately become a quadriplegic from multiple sclerosis, and that after 40 years ago, they would fly to Canada to get married shortly before Thea's death. And she definitely didn't know that when the federal government refused to recognize their marriage, she'd win a landmark victory at the Supreme Court. Even after we filed our case, Edie was still surprised by her life's path. "It's one thing to be out as a lesbian," she once remarked, But it's another thing entirely to be the out lesbian who just happens to be suing the United States of America. The same, of course, is true for me. As a closeted high school student in Cleveland, Ohio in the early 1980s, as a closeted college student here at Harvard in the mid-1980s, or as an only slightly less closeted law student at Columbia in the late 1980s, if you had told me that one day I would marry a woman, have a child, win a civil rights case about marriage equality of all things before the Supreme Court, and then start my own law firm, I would have responded to you that you were completely insane. But while there's a lot that you can't predict or control, there is plenty that you can. So I'd like to try to offer some advice based on my own 25 years as a lawyer, with a modest hope that it helps you along your own path. My first piece of advice is based on the most literal reading of Rabbi Nachman's story. In this crazy world, find people who also have that special mark on their foreheads and stick close to them. Even a king needs a prime minister, and both of them need allies. We tend to forget this in the legal profession. Too often we glamorize the lawyer as the lone advocate, standing heroically before the bar in the court. But that image is completely false. I could not have argued and won the Windsor case without an amazing team of lawyers by my side who grilled and I would say tortured me in moot courts, who agonized over every single word in our briefs, and who cried with me when we won. I wouldn't have been able to start my own law firm without the sanity, wisdom, and friendship of my current partners. And without so many other amazing women, we couldn't have founded the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund, which assists thousands of low-income survivors of sexual harassment and assault in the workplace, and which has enabled so many courageous women to be able to come forward and tell their stories. On that, I look to Oprah Winfrey, who has always put it best. As she said, when a new day finally dawns, it will be because a lot of magnificent women and some pretty phenomenal men fighting hard to make sure nobody ever has to say "me too" again. Now, in case it isn't already obvious to you, and you've already heard it here this afternoon, let me remind you that the greatest gift Harvard has given you is the students sitting around you here today. You will accomplish far more if you find other lawyers who share your values and you work with them to make things happen. If you come to realize that you're working with people who don't share your values or who can't help you grow as a lawyer, then be honest with yourself. They aren't the right colleagues. Find mentors who believe in you, and the people you choose to surround yourself with speaks volumes about who you are and who you will become. Rabbi Nachman once said that sometimes a group of people happily dancing together take hold of someone who is standing miserable and alone on the outside. They pull him into the dance despite himself, forcing him to rejoice with them. Especially when we feel stuck on the sidelines, friends and allies can help us to bring us back into the mix. Let yourself be the person who is pulled into the dance. And once you're there, especially if you come from communities that are not privileged, do the same for others. That brings me to the second piece of advice from Rabbi Nachman. If you believe that it is possible to break, believe that it is possible to repair. You guys have the distinction of graduating from law school at one of the most unsettled moments in our nation's history, as you heard Professor Lazarus say this afternoon. To borrow from the 1963 Ethel Merman Spencer Tracy movie that my son loved so much when he was little, It truly is a mad, 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 mad world. The past several years have seen a terrifying increase in hate crimes and bigotry toward minorities of all kinds. The Me Too movement has exposed the misogyny that infects so many of our leading institutions. Our elected officials struggle to address soaring income inequality, access to health care, an epidemic of gun violence, and the imminent threat of climate change. Whatever your politics or party, we can all agree that our society has become dangerously polarized and our politics profoundly divisive. The rule of law has taken a beating and has never looked more tenuous. Like Rabbi Nachman, we have good reason to be depressed. But it is far too easy to simply give up and become cynical, to decide that nothing really matters and there's nothing we can do to fix it. As lawyers, not to mention lawyers with Harvard law degrees, you have a duty to act. As Justice Kagan put it, citing, of course, Stan Lee's Spider-Man, in this world with great power, there also comes great responsibility. Seek opportunities to make the world better. And when you take on clients, whether a person, a corporation, or a government, devote yourself to solving their problems effectively and ethically. The life of a lawyer is a life of responsibility. A few weeks ago, I had the honor of acting as the MC, but not the cool rap kind, the nerdy lawyer kind, at a law day dinner in New York City. As I looked down from the podium in an enormous ballroom, I was struck by the fact that all those hundreds of lawyers in that room who surely strongly disagreed on matters of politics, law, or jurisprudence, after all, they were not only lawyers, but also New Yorkers, all shared the same belief about what it means to be a lawyer. As Second Circuit Judge Richard Sullivan noted that evening, all lawyers, not just government lawyers, not just public defenders, not just judges, all lawyers have an affirmative public duty to protect and defend our constitutional system of justice. That's not true of other professions, noble though they are. Doctors, accountants, architects, they don't take the oath that you will take. Lawyers alone are asked to assume this public role, and so it is that lawyers do not merely represent private clients in private matters. Lawyers have a public responsibility to serve the nation. This leads me to my third and final piece of advice. Be brave. As lawyers, we are temperamentally cautious, trained to see risk and to avoid it. Over these past 3 years, you may have seen and learned how legal reasoning at times can unduly complicate what is plainly right there in front of you. Lawyers are taught to switch deftly between both sides of an argument, to see every angle, and to define the right outcome for our clients based on a limited set of considerations. That's why it's sometimes said that lawyers are hired guns. But that doesn't have to be true, and in my experience, it usually isn't. But when principles don't align with professional, financial, or political incentives, it is far too easy for lawyers to over-rationalize core values into a hazy, meaningless blur. A Harvard law degree gives you the privilege to take risks that others cannot, to recover from mistakes that others cannot. Resist the impulse to play it safe. Think consciously about what you are doing and why you are doing it. If you just go with the flow and let others define what happens to you, then one day you will wake up and realize that the life you are living is not your own. This does not require you to abandon the prestigious institutions that many of you are heading to. I built a wonderful career by climbing the ranks at my old law firm of Paul Weiss. But becoming a great lawyer requires you to be courageous, to press boundaries wherever they exist, and to insist that things can always change for the better, especially now. If you have followed my first two pieces of advice, then you will know when the moment demands bravery, and you will have the support you need to act. Truth be told, it was scary to take a marriage equality case to the Supreme Court and feel the fate of so many Americans resting on my shoulders. It was scary to start a new law firm and to decide that our very first case would be a lawsuit against a dozen Nazis who had planned the attack in Charlottesville. In making that decision, my colleagues and I not only felt an immense responsibility to our clients, but also for each other's physical safety and security. But I knew that I would be with people who would have my back no matter what. Your life will not always be easy. There will be times when you want to throw up your hands in frustration. Believe me, I've had those fair share of feelings. I know I sound like an old lady when I say this, but if you think that sexism is a big problem in the legal profession today, just imagine what it was like when I graduated law school in 1991. Not to mention the fact that, as you heard from Zachary, I remained in the closet through both of my clerkships due to my own fear of widespread homophobia. When you wake up tomorrow and the next day and the day after that, persist. As members of the bar, you will be entrusted with the responsibility to protect the Constitution of the United States of America. The people who stand the most to lose from the battles raging around us today do not have the privilege to be sitting at this ceremony. They need your help now more than ever. Rabbi Nachman taught his followers that all the world is a very narrow bridge, and that the main thing to remember is not to fear at all. Those words are as true today as they were during Rabbi Nachman's time of pogroms and plagues. So, like Edie Windsor, be brave. Be yourself and be true to yourself. As my dear friend and Windsor co-counsel Pam Carlin has said, you cannot choreograph a lifetime. Even if you lose a case or two or three along the way, as I did, keep on walking across that narrow bridge with as little fear as possible. You are about to enter the noblest of professions. Take on clients and causes because you know in your head and in your heart that it's the right thing to do. As far as I can tell, that's what this crazy condition of being both a human being and a lawyer is all about. And I guess I really am an old lady when I say this. We are counting on you to do so. Thank you, Dean Manning. Thank you, Dean of Student Cells. Thank you to the association and President Eaton. Congratulations to the thousands of friends and family members who came from all over the country to be here with you today. And most of all, thank you to the Harvard class of 2019 for inviting me to be a part of your joyous celebration.
Hi, my name's Sam Garcia. I'm one of your 2019 class marshals. And as many of you may know, I'm proudly from the state of Texas. When I was a goat herder as a kid in South Texas, I asked some advice from a nearby rancher on how to sell them. And he told me this story. A man wanted to get rid of a statue that he hated. So he put a for sale sign on it and a price of $100. After a while, he knocked down the price to $80, then $60, then $20, until finally he changed the sign to, "Please, just take this statue, it's free." One day, after no one took him up on his offer, he got smart. He put a $10,000 price tag on the statue, and that night, someone stole it. The traditional lesson of the story is to price your goods high so people think they are worth it. However, I think the true wisdom of this story lies within the thief who is convinced to steal the statue. How many times have we done things not because we personally believe it's valuable, but because someone else has told us that it is? How many of us wrote on, took a class we didn't really want to take, or joined an org because others said it was valuable without ever taking the time to figure out if it was truly valuable to us personally? Moving forward from graduation, we have an opportunity to do what the thief should have done and evaluate opportunities on how valuable they are to us truly. In doing so, we can strive to have careers that are full of not only success, but of significance. Congratulations to the class of 2019 on all of your success so far, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds for us. Finally, I'd like to thank our families and friends for joining us on this class day. Thank you so much.